Okay, at this time, we're going to ask Peter Fasano to come forward, who is going to be talking about one of the projects which is near and dear to our heart here within MASB. And we actually, Joanna talked about this yesterday, so I think we'll just let you run right into it.
All right. Well, Frank, thanks so much. And thanks to all of the provocative and inspirational sessions that we engaged during the summit. I look forward to introducing my Clawbot to yours at the end of year marketing agent summit that I'm sure is inevitable. So just with some context about what we're going to connect the dots on from standards to solutions largely, I was excited to hear about Rena and how she showed us about how standards and provenance matter at the structural level and how Google's building SynthID and partnering with C2PA because, you know, content without provenance is a liability. Adam just talked to us about the human side of teams needing to adapt, but to what framework? There's so many choices available there, both from the technology, the culture, process, and so on. And yesterday, Kantar talked to us about how 50% of consumers, the Gen Pop generation, are using AI on a weekly basis. And these are our junior employees and our customers. And then Jay from MasterCard called out the nearly 50 cents on every dollar spent on marketing is a tech tax, and what a burden that is on there. It's remarkable stat. So, every panelist has confirmed that we're using AI in a fragmented way. These are AI as a tool with no common definitional layer around it. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So, the question that keeps coming back to us through the summit has been who provides the authoritative marketing language that both humans and machines can trust? And that's what we solve. That's what I started my business doing, and really focusing on that question of how do you lead with human intelligence and grow with AI collaborators? Key data points coming back to the ones we just talked about regarding, AI weekly usage really growing. How do we actually get more value back into an efficiency and effectiveness from the tools rather than it being a tax applied to us as marketers within the business today? And how can Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., how do these vendor tools with no common layer actually collaborate and work together? Each LLM, like us, have unique consumer profiles and characteristics. Who are the tribes that use them, and then what are the biases within each one of those LLMs that drive its decision and training? And then particularly for us in marketing, more than any other line of business, such as finance or perhaps even HR, the unique understanding of how we deliver marketing, how we do it for our particular brands, is a gap. And an us going to the generalists to ask specific questions gives us these poor responses that we've talked about over the last 24 hours. So our collective thesis without standards, LLMs hallucinate. So what's our role and opportunity to address these challenges? That's really what we want to get into next. So this is how we are thinking about external member experience. More than 15 years ago, MASB took on the ambitious project of the Universal Marketing Dictionary, bringing together definitions and structure from collaboration of other trade organizations to help provide consistency and trusted source in a public way on the web, and it's been a phenomenal success. How do we move from that to address these new challenges, the new way that marketers, academics, researchers, and others use these definitions, use the formulas, use our ISO standards to address these needs? And I kind of think about it in this kind of way of a roadmap of, we heard about in some of the earlier presentations about people, process, technology, and data being fairly standard across any change management in the organization. And now we have AI, so five components of how this works, and the choices of how they're deployed, or maybe even the structural soundness of any of them, are some of the challenge. So, is AI deployed on its own? Many have tried that without people, process, technology, or data, or maybe you have done that with just the technology and people, and you forgot the other components of that. Is it layered on top? Is it layered below? These are all kind of the optional roadmaps of how you think about what your operating model for AI is. And we're going to go into some of that next. I think how I've been coming at this from the perspective of a career of leading digital through the client side and the consultancy side and through agencies, of solving how do I operationalize this disruptive force in my business. And so whether that was cloud, most recently Gen AI, social media a decade ago, or just the web itself more than 20. These are all some of the things that are have formed my point of view about, well, how do we get from a Web 1 experience to an agentic one? And the gap is large for many. So we look at this from this perspective, is that there is a need for marketing intelligence and a marketing orchestration system. There's marketing inputs and marketing outputs that largely are the foundation for how we can work through a maturity model around this for not only MASB, but really any enterprise marketing organization. What I've put together is this structure for my business, MassLogic, and I'm working in the design partnership with MASB in actually building out the capability for MASB. And there'll be an invitation for you to join in this process in a closed beta fairly soon. I'll talk about that at the end of this chat. So if we're to go quickly dissect, what is MIMO? For this one over there are that this brand brain, this intelligence layer is a foundational component. And so for us, that really means the Universal Marketing Dictionary is a starting place. There are other components of the library and the corpus of all of the materials they put together. And just like any other trade organization may have, that provides a foundation. As a CMO, this may be your SOPs. These are your benchmarks. These are your strategies, your governance, and your other training materials that you have in place that inform your intelligence core. You then move into this context layer that we heard from Adam talking about earlier, about your muscle memory coming in. Well, this is kind of like a board of advisors that come in, whether it's MASB or the MIT Sloan School, or it's Adweek or Forrester, a variety of trusted sources that marketers are spending more than $10,000 per head to give this kind of context and experience to their staff to help them with making decisions. We have to do the same thing by bringing those materials into your intelligence core. And then finally, this orchestration layer of, well, I can now have a data source, I can query it, I can engage with it, I may supplement it with external information, but what do I do about it informing my CFO or my extended collaborating teams through the enterprise LLM? How can the marketing team actually engage with that through agent to agent communication at the enterprise level, or at the other side with their large martech investments, some spending more than $10 million annually on that, each with more than 100 agents that are asking for attention. How can you create a manager to take care of this new synthetic team? So this MIMO architecture, grounded in your data, supplemented with external expertise, and then orchestrated to make decisions and inform other systems, is really the core of what we're talking about. How's this applied over here? So what we did was we started a pilot and took on the part of the Universal Marketing Dictionary and kind of set a goal of saying, what could we do to actually take this data set and make it actionable and make it available in a unique way? And could you go to the next slide, please? So what we did is we took all of the terms and data, which are structured in largely in documents, and we converted these, what some would say, unstructured data, into a vectorized system. So what that means is that we can look at it from various different dimensions and if you can tap on that slide one more time, it'll start to build out. we could then engage the data in an interesting way. And so here we've built out this prototype, and in this one over here, we can ask questions. It generates answers back for us. In this case, it's looking for what's the definition of customer. And we've taken the full Universal Marketing Dictionary and have looked at all of the references. We've looked at how it was structured today. We've looked at how the information is delivered on the website throughout the MASB website itself as well, and then provided some context to help bring it to life. And so to be able to get through and understand, well, what are the related terms to customer? In this case over here, customer lifetime value. I look forward to reading that white paper from the earlier panelists today. And these kind of definitions can come back in here. We look at how we can supplement this with the additional MASB information, like all of the podcasts they've put together, all of the other summits that go on quarterly, and supplement this material with video, supplement it with transcripts from those videos, or supplement it with collaboration from other trade organizations and other research organizations. So this is one way to look at how this agent comes together. It's just a starting point for us to get to that intelligence layer. Really, one of the core things about looking at turning on an agent and even collecting all of the information together is important and critical. But once we start to open it up to other systems internally or externally with other agents, or mix it with others in an agent-to-agent way, you need a governance system to be able to manage the data that you're receiving or that you're distributing out. And so in this one over here, what we're seeing is the MIMO governance dashboard. So this is what MASB would use to engage and understand, well, how's the data being used? What's the filtering layer? And so I worked with my engineering partner who has built this operating model that provides this type of governance and gives me a flexibility to drop in a LLM that I choose to have, whether it's open source or closed source ones. In this case, I have Google Gemini APIs working with this to work across the corpus and provide answers. So this tells me about the quality score. This tells me about the response scoring. This tells me about the safety levels, and tells me about all the operating decisions that I would need to have to both understand my cost, my health, my trust, and in some cases, profit. If I'm enabling this commercially and I have my agent available in a tokenized kind of way. So this is one way to look at that dashboard. So coming back to this one, this is where MIMO, the Marketing Intelligence and Marketing Orchestration System, provides MASB with a starting point for just foundational member experience capabilities that we're considering. We'll be going into some of the other initiatives around the overall AI roadmap for MASB in a moment. But it also to think about how is the Universal Marketing Dictionary and its overall purpose of why it was founded initially. We now look at that in a very different light of saying this is perhaps context as a service, where the needs of marketers to have inputs from expert sources like MASB are things that we need to consider as trade organizations, as publishers, as consultants, and so forth. And so some things to be looking at. And then, by the way, we will be having a full enterprise demo in just a few weeks that is going to be looking at this full MIMO stack for MASB beyond this initial QA agent that we have today. What's next? So this gives us a little bit more background about the overall roadmap of what we're looking at. I'm going to defer to Frank, Joanna, and Eric for answering the details of when, where, and how these are going to be prioritized. But these are some of the categories that are being explored and where the UMD agent fits into some of these categories. I'll be participating in some of these groups. I look forward to collaborating with you in many of these areas. All right, so now coming to the roadmap and the program. So our timeline is that We have a beta launch in just a few weeks. In the next slide, I'll be giving you some opportunities to join in if you're a hand raiser and would like to participate at one of two levels for giving feedback back to MASB and perhaps even gaining some input into your own AI roadmap. Then, we'd love to hear about what you're working on and then how we could support you. The full production launch is going to be just after that in April. So we have a busy 60 days really to get things ready, capture your feedback, and continue to deliver the work. The product roadmap that I'm working on at MassLogic, it follows kind of in sequence to all of this. We'll be onboarding a few other organizations into our marketplace of agents. We will be working through our overall intelligence hub integrations with enterprise cloud systems, and later in the year with MarTech platforms, and then conducting a market effectiveness research that we'll release in Q4. And if you can go to the next slide, please, we'll tell you about how MASB members can engage. If you want to scan that QR code, there's a short form over there. We'd like to hear more about what you're working on and how you may like to be involved. It's about a 30-day sprint that we're going to be going through to capture feedback at two different levels. There's those that will be involved in A2A or agent to agent integration pilot, and the other ones will be giving feedback about the UMD agent overall and the evolution of what you saw here briefly today. So scan the code and we'll be capturing information from that.
Peter, we have Joanna would like to ask a question.
Hi, Joanna.
Okay, wait, it's not so much a question as, you know, to say that I would encourage, you know, everybody who's here to consider participating in the beta because it's really important for the future of MASB and I think for marketing in general. So, what Peter is doing is starting with the dictionary, as he explained, as because it's kind of self-contained and it's, so much used as the sort of pilot. But the real potential of this is for the treasure trove of IP that lies on the MASB website behind the members only wall, which is truly incredible. It's not used as much as it should because, it's difficult to figure out what's in it. Once this is all together, which is step 2, once we've proven the pilot and got it all working properly with the dictionary, everything that MASB has, all that IP will be available to any member or anyone associated with the organization easily. You just query it and get the information you want, which we think is really exciting. So that's step 2, and then step 3 is to reach out to the other major marketing associations. So, the MMA, the ARF, the ANA, 4As, etc., and to, invite them to also become part of this, to create a really uniquely valuable and incredible source of marketing information to marketers. So that's what I would like to say. Peter, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that. I'm talking for you, but from a MASB perspective, yeah.
Absolutely right. I think that's exactly right. And I would say that the vision is, certainly that on-site member experience certainly is, a clear capability, but then extending it beyond that so that it becomes the Grammarly-like experience for marketing decision making and resources, so that you are supporting decisions and supporting actions and hopefully giving back time and credibility to marketers.
Yep, I think that's right because, we set the stage for this summit. What we're saying is that AI is central to a lot of what MASB does. MASB is about standards, accountability, and leading the way in data for the whole of marketing. And I think this is a really great example of how we should do this and are doing this to really lead the way.
Right. And we have a comment, Peter, from John Gasky in the Q&A. He says, "Bravo, Peter. Thank you for your next level contribution."
Thank you so much.
So Peter, do you have any other final words you would like to say?
Well, I would just say in closing, thanks to all the panelists and for the provocations and inspiration over there. I look forward to collaborating with some of you a little bit closer through this beta in the next few weeks. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter. I couldn't think of a better way to end our summit than your presentation and the great work that you're partnering with us at MASB. So thank you so much for participating and for in the summit.
Absolutely. Thank you.